Who's he? The question sliced through the air like a razor, loud enough for me to hear even from across the rooftop. And then I heard her answer. Emlyn, my wife of 6 years, tipped her glass back and said with a grin I didn't recognize. Oh, him? He's nobody. Just tagging along. The group around her laughed. Not nervously, not uncomfortably. They laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all night. I stood frozen with a small paper plate in my hand, half a spinach tart still on it. I hadn't even made it to the main course. The waiter next to me raised an eyebrow, unsure if he should keep pouring. I blinked, nodded, and let him fill my glass like it mattered. It didn't. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. That much was obvious. She had begged me to come 2 days ago. Practically begged. Said it was just for appearances, said I'd be helping her. But nothing about this felt like help. It felt like performance. And apparently, I wasn't in the script. It wasn't just that she said I was nobody. It was how she said it. Like she truly meant it. Like she forgot I had overheard every time she told her mom I was the best thing that ever happened to her. That I was the man who stayed up all night when her dad was in the hospital. The man who worked weekends so she could finish grad school without student loans. But tonight, I was just an accessory. Background noise. A placeholder with a plastic fork. She didn't see me walk away. I didn't storm out. I didn't break a glass or slam a chair. I just left my plate on a nearby ledge and quietly stepped toward the exit while they laughed about something else entirely. Probably the man standing 3 feet from them, who had just been reduced to nobody. Downstairs, the noise dimmed, replaced by my own breath and the buzz of my phone vibrating like a heartbeat I didn't want to check. Then it stopped. And then it buzzed again. Emlyn, wait, where did you go? Seriously? Please come back. Please. I sat on a cold bench just outside the valet station. I didn't move, didn't text back. I just looked out at the city skyline and tried to figure out how the hell we had gone from forever to please come back in less than 5 seconds. It wasn't even the first time this had happened. Not exactly. But tonight, something snapped. Not loud, just quiet and permanent. That was the moment I knew I was done being her nobody. And she had no idea what was coming next. I didn't go home that night. That part always seems to shock people when I tell them. As if walking away from a rooftop party gives you just enough dignity to leave for an hour, sulk in your car, and return with your tail between your legs. But I didn't sulk. Not exactly. I sat there on that cold bench under a crooked lamp post while the city kept moving like nothing happened. And maybe that's what stung the most. How normal everything was outside while my entire sense of worth had just been shattered 4 floors up. My phone buzzed again. A 4th time. 5th. I didn't read the texts. I couldn't. I was scared if I saw her type something casual, like, "You're overreacting," or "It was a joke." I'd snap and text something I'd regret. Or worse, I'd believe her again. I'd take the bait. I always did. But not this time. Instead, I did something completely uncharacteristic. I opened my ride app, booked a car to a 24-hour diner across the city, and left without saying a word. She had taken my voice away upstairs. I wasn't going to beg to use it now. I sat in that diner booth for hours. Ordered the cheapest coffee. Poked at a slice of pie. The waitress checked on me twice and finally said, "You look like you just got hit by a marriage." I didn't laugh. Just gave her a quiet nod. She topped up my coffee without asking after that. At 1:27 a.m., I finally read the messages. Emlyn, where did you go? This is seriously childish. Reed, come back. You're making this into a thing. Please don't ruin tonight. I just need you here. I can't explain now. Please come back. There it was again. That shift. That whiplash of her pretending it wasn't a big deal, then suddenly collapsing into panic when she realized I wasn't playing the same role anymore. She always did that, minimized first, then begged. And every time before, I folded. Every time. But something about the word thing triggered me this time. Like what she did wasn't even worth a proper label. Like she hadn't erased me from her professional life in front of half her company. Like my dignity was just an overreaction, a thing. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled up my banking app and quietly moved half of our shared savings to a private account I had opened last year and never used. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was a moment of petty revenge, maybe just self-protection. But I didn't pause. I didn't second guess. I moved the money and stared at the screen for a long time after. My fingers hovered over her name. I thought about typing. You erased me. I heard everything. Nobody doesn't answer your texts. But I typed nothing. I paid the bill in cash and left before the sun came up. By the time she woke up, I was already at a motel 30 miles out, checking into a place that smelled like pine cleaner and regret. I still hadn't replied. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't a punishment. It was the first time in years I let silence speak louder than my hurt. And yet, I knew Emlyn. I knew silence wouldn't scare her. Not right away. But what I didn't know? She had already started trying to cover her tracks. I didn't check her socials. I didn't stalk her stories. I didn't even open our shared calendar. I just laid on that scratchy motel bed with one thin pillow and stared at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of someone's television 2 rooms over. For once in my life, I wasn't reacting. I wasn't reaching out. I wasn't fixing. It felt strange, not like power, but like I was floating in nothingness, unsure what to do with my own silence. And then came the call. It wasn't from her. It was from Aaron. Aaron wasn't even someone I considered a close friend. More like a polite co-worker turned party acquaintance. We'd chatted at a couple of company BBQs and once helped each other lift a stupidly heavy grill into someone's SUV. That was our bond. Burnt sausages and awkward man nods. But Aaron was at that party. And apparently, unlike the others, he noticed me leave. "Hey man," he said, voice tentative. "I'm sorry to call out of nowhere. But I feel like you should know what Emlyn said after you left." I froze. "What do you mean?" She kind of played it off, laughed real loud, and said you had an emergency work thing and that you weren't feeling well. Told her boss you have a weird stomach condition and couldn't handle rooftop shrimp. I sat up, nearly dropped the phone. She said what? She made it sound like you flaked. That it wasn't serious. Like you were the one who made things awkward. And then she started going around saying stuff like you're going through a fragile phase and she's just trying to support you. A fragile phase. That phrase burned hotter than the word nobody. "Thanks for telling me," I muttered, trying to keep the shaking out of my voice. "There's more," Aaron said, hesitating. I didn't respond. I couldn't. She went back to that guy, the tall one with the jacket. You know who I mean? "Yeah," I said through clenched teeth. "Well, she was with him the rest of the night. I don't want to start drama, but dude, it looked real flirty. Not like coworkers. Like he trailed off. Anyway, sorry. I just thought you should hear it from someone who wasn't drinking." I thanked him, hung up, and sat in silence for 10 full minutes. She lied about me, covered for herself, told people I was weak, pathetic, fragile. I wasn't even angry yet, just hollow. Because it wasn't about the flirting, or the lie, or the stupid shrimp excuse. It was the fact that she defaulted so easily to protecting her image by sacrificing mine. I'd seen it before, subtle digs in front of her friends, telling stories that made me sound incompetent, always followed by a sweet, sugary laugh and a "you know I love you, babe." But now she had rewritten the entire narrative before I even hit the sidewalk. And worse, she assumed I'd be too ashamed to say otherwise. Like I'd crawl back and let her version become the truth. I got up, grabbed my laptop from the bag I hadn't even unpacked, and logged into my email. Not to check work, not to vent to anyone. I had one goal. To print something I hadn't touched in months, a detailed list of shared assets, passwords, insurance documents, and every little trail she never thought I'd remember. Because if she wanted to play like I was invisible, then fine. I'd vanish properly. But I wouldn't go quietly. I didn't hear from Emlyn for almost 16 hours. Not a single call, not one, "Where are you?" Not even a lazy voice note pretending to be hurt. Just silence. And for someone like her, someone who built entire conversations for my roles and size, that wasn't just uncharacteristic. It was strategic. I thought she might have needed time to cool off. I was wrong. At 3:13 p.m. the next day, while I was halfway through my second black coffee at the motel diner, she finally messaged me again. "Emlyn, can we talk? Please. I don't want to argue. Just talk. Are you okay? I'm worried." Where are you? Worried. That word was supposed to soften me. But the way she used it, not "I miss you," not "I'm sorry," but "I'm worried," made it clear. This wasn't emotional. It was tactical. She wasn't reaching out because she missed me. She was worried I might do something that could embarrass her. So I didn't answer. But I did leave the diner. I wasn't hiding. I just wanted peace, real peace, for one day. Just one. A day where I wasn't being corrected, interrupted, guilt into being more supportive. I checked into a new place across town, not because I was scared, but because I knew her too well. She'd find me. She'd charm the motel clerk. She'd stand at the doorway with fake tears and a trembling lip, and I'd fold. Again, I didn't want to fold anymore, but I didn't expect what happened next. That evening, around 8:40 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Unknown number. Read, it's Donnell, Emily's friend. She's looking for you. She's upset. Can you please talk to her? Donnell. The same woman who once called me the husband with no ambition during a New Year's toast while Emlyn laughed and didn't defend me. That Donnell. Now suddenly the peacemaker. I stared at the message, then turned off my phone. I wasn't in the mood to be being managed by her inner circle, but I underestimated her persistence. The knock on my door came 2 hours later. 3 sharp knocks, followed by silence. I stood behind the door, heart pounding, not because I was scared, but because I knew this moment was the first real test. If I opened it, I knew I'd step right back into orbit around her gravity. I waited, breath shallow. And then, her voice. Reed, I know you're in there. Please, don't do this. Just open the door. I didn't mean to hurt you. She didn't say sorry. She didn't say she lied. She said, don't do this. As if the problem was me walking out, not her treating me like a forgotten extra in her performance. I heard what you said at the party. I finally said, not opening the door. To your friends. To your boss. She was quiet. I imagined her blinking, calculating. You misunderstood, she said eventually. I didn't mean. I was nobody, right? No, Reed, come on. You know how these things are. I had to keep it light. It was a joke. You're overreacting. Overreacting. That word should be carved into our marriage license. I didn't speak. She continued, more forceful now, her voice pressing against the door like a hammer. This is insane. You're blowing up our life over nothing. Don't make me the villain just because you're insecure. That was it. Not I'm sorry, not I want to fix this. Just one final kick at the version of me she'd spent years shaping. The weak, reactive, overly sensitive husband who never measured up to her high-polished world. I leaned closer to the door and said, calmly, you told people I was sick, that I had a stomach problem. You told Aaron I'm fragile. You let them laugh at me. You didn't defend me. You made sure no one even knew I was your husband. Her silence wasn't surprised. It was annoyed. You asked me to come for you, I said, voice quiet. But this time I'm staying gone for me. I didn't open the door. I didn't let her reply. I walked away, into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and let the hot water drown the sound of her knocking again. Eventually, the knock stopped. But she'd be back. And next time, she wouldn't be asking nicely. I thought she'd go quiet after that night. That she'd walk away, lick her wounds, and wait for me to eventually crawl back like I always did. Because that's how our fights used to end. I'd leave, she'd ignore, and then I'd return like nothing happened, just thankful to be let back in. But this time, I didn't return. And Emlyn doesn't do silence. She doesn't do uncertainty. She does control. She does reputation. And the moment I stopped playing the part of the apologetic husband who misunderstood her harmless jokes, she switched tactics. I woke up the next morning to a missed call from our landlord. Then an email. Then another. Apparently, Emlyn had told him I had moved out permanently and that she'd be removing my name from the lease. Mind you, I was the one who paid the rent for the last 5 years. She had only recently started making consistent income, yet suddenly I was being erased from the address I'd turned into our home. I called the landlord back, calmly, and told him the truth. That we weren't separated legally. That I hadn't abandoned the property. That I still had keys and belongings inside. He sighed and said, I figured something wasn't right. But she was very convincing, said she was handling everything. Emlyn had always been convincing. Her superpower wasn't beauty or charm. It was her ability to make you question your own memory, to make you feel like you were the one rewriting reality. But I wasn't going to let her erase me again. That same day, I drove back to the city. Not to talk, not to plead. I didn't even text her. I parked 2 blocks from our apartment, sat in the car with the windows cracked, and watched the front entrance like it was enemy territory. At 3:17 p.m., she left, dressed like she was heading to yoga, phone in hand, sunglasses on, her entire posture smug and relaxed. She wasn't heartbroken. She wasn't spiraling. She was winning. Or at least she thought she was. The moment she turned the corner, I unlocked the glove box, pulled out the spare key she didn't know I had copied, and quietly entered the building. Inside, the place was spotless. Too spotless. My framed pictures? Gone. My side of the closet? Empty. My laptop, my books, my cologne, missing. She was trying to scrub me out of her life like I was a stain she'd just discovered on her favorite dress. But what she didn't realize was that I had already prepared for this. 6 months earlier, long before this party nightmare, I had started documenting things. Quietly. Not because I expected divorce, but because I knew something in her had shifted. Her compliments came less often. Her sighs more frequent. Her phone never left her hand. I had backups. Screenshots. Copies of financial accounts. Messages. Logs. I had proof. And I took what was mine. Quietly. Not to punish, but to protect. By the time she returned, I was gone again, but not empty-handed. Later that evening, I received a single, unhinged text. Emlyn, what the hell is wrong with you? You think you're clever? You just burned everything. I can't believe you'd go behind my back like this. Funny. That's exactly what I had said to myself 6 nights ago. But now the game had changed. This wasn't about fixing things anymore. It was about survival. And the next move? It was mine. The thing about disappearing is, people only notice you're gone when they lose control of the narrative. Emlyn wasn't texting me because she missed me. She was texting because the version of our story she'd crafted, the fragile husband, the supportive wife, was starting to fall apart. And for someone who built her entire identity on being admired, worshipped, believed, cracks were fatal. But I hadn't even started the real damage yet. While she was busy convincing friends and colleagues I'd had some kind of breakdown, I was doing what she never imagined I had the courage to do. I was pulling the thread that held her reputation together. See, Emlyn didn't just lie about me. She lied about everything. Like how she got that big promotion last quarter. Told everyone she finessed the campaign pitch. Stayed up nights crafting every slide deck. But what she didn't tell them was that I built half those slides. I edited her pitch video. I rewrote her team's talking points because she said they were incompetent. She didn't just lean on me. She used me like a tool and then wiped my fingerprints off. I still had every file. And so I sent one small, polite, bullet-pointed email to her company's HR rep anonymously. No accusations. Just a list of attachments. Labeled. Dated. Timestamped. I didn't even write a message. Let them connect the dots. I wasn't trying to ruin her career. Not yet. I just wanted her to know I existed. That I wasn't afraid anymore to show people what she did when the cameras were off. But the part that broke her? That came next. I scheduled a package to arrive at our apartment while she was still sleeping off her rage. Inside, a printed letter. A copy of the lease. Photos she took down from our walls, which I had found stuffed in a plastic storage bin under the bed. And one final note. You erased me. Here's proof I was here. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. The fallout began that afternoon. It started with a phone call from her sister. A woman who, until now, had barely acknowledged me unless it involved holiday logistics or splitting checks. Read, she said, voice shaking. What the hell happened between you two? I didn't answer right away. She told the whole family you'd been unstable, that you just left, that you were dealing with mental health issues, and she was trying to be respectful of your space. But now she's freaking out. She won't say why. She's crying and screaming and saying you're trying to destroy her. Destroy her? I had barely done anything. Yet. But that was the thing about Emlyn. Her strength was performative. She could pretend to be composed in public. But she only knew how to win as long as everyone else played along. The moment someone deviated, especially someone who once worshipped her, she cracked. She said I'm unstable? I asked, laughing bitterly. Her sister paused. Honestly, I never believed it. You've always been quiet. Not crazy. Just tired. That word hit me harder than I expected. Tired. Because that's what I had become. Not angry. Not vengeful. Just exhausted. From years of being minimized, ignored, used, then expected to smile through it all like some invisible emotional assistant. I'm not coming back, I said finally. I don't care what story she tells. The line went quiet. Then a soft sigh. I get it, her sister said. More than you know. I didn't ask what she meant by that. Because I didn't need to. Emlyn was starting to lose her grip on the image she'd worked so hard to polish. She still had friends. Still had allies. But the foundation? It was wobbling. And she was scrambling to find someone to blame. And I was perfectly fine being her villain, so long as I didn't have to be her victim anymore. But just as I thought I'd gained the upper hand, something happened I didn't expect. She showed up at my mother's house. And what she said there, that changed everything. When my mom called, her voice was already shaking. Not panicked, just disturbed in a way I hadn't heard since my father's funeral. She came here, she said softly. She didn't even knock. She just walked in like nothing had happened. I closed my eyes. I had feared this, that Emlyn, pushed into a corner, would pivot to the last place she thought she still had influence, my family. What did she say? I asked, already bracing. That she was worried sick about you, that you'd been struggling mentally, that she just wanted to bring you home before you did something regrettable. My mom paused. She used those exact words, Reed. Regrettable. My mouth went dry. Did you believe her? I asked. Silence. No, she said, finally. But for a moment, I almost did. That's what scared me. She's so composed. So rehearsed. She had tears, Reed. I mean real ones. Not just water in the eyes. She cried like she believed what she was saying. That was Emlyn's power. She didn't lie in the way most people did. Nervously, defensively, carelessly. No, she lied like she was saving you from your own version of the truth. Like you should be grateful for the prettier story. She told me you've been paranoid, my mother continued. That you think people are out to get you. That you're making things up. She said you left because you couldn't handle her success. I felt something behind my ribs curl inward. Shame, maybe. But also rage. Not the kind that explodes, the kind that sinks. I've been nothing but supportive, I whispered. I helped her build half her image. I know, my mom replied. I told her that. I said, my son loved you so much he gave up his own promotions so you could finish grad school. She blinked, then said, exactly. And maybe that's the problem. I couldn't speak. She's not well, Reed. I don't mean mentally. I mean morally. Something in her is broken. But I already knew that. I didn't just pack up my car after the call. I went back to that apartment. Not to fight. Not to argue. I went to end it. The locks had been changed. Of course they had. But Emlyn made a mistake. She left a single window unlatched. The same one I used to climb through when we were dating, and she swore her roommates would kill her if they knew she was sneaking me in. Back then, it felt romantic. Now it felt like war. Inside, the place looked like a showroom version of our life. None of it real. Throw pillows we never used. Cookbooks she never read. Photos I'd taken, now cropped to only show her smiling alone. It was like I never lived there. She'd turned our marriage into a set piece. I didn't touch anything. I just left a letter on the kitchen table. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just real. Emlyn, I don't want to scream. I don't want to humiliate you. But I will not allow you to rewrite me. You're not scared for me. You're scared of losing control. And that control ends here. No threats. No, I'll expose you. Just the truth. Because I knew something she didn't. She had triggered a formal HR inquiry at her company when she lied about me ghosting her with a mental health spiral. But HR hadn't emailed her yet. They'd emailed me 2 days earlier. One of her junior team members had flagged the discrepancy between her public narrative and my anonymous submission. And now, they were digging. Quietly. Legally. Carefully. They weren't just looking at pitch decks anymore. They were looking at her. And Emlyn? She had no idea how much of her illusion was built on borrowed time. The question wasn't if she would fall. It was how loud it would be when she hit the ground. It didn't unravel publicly, not the way I thought it might. There were no dramatic firings, no viral videos, no confrontations in office corridors. The real and didn't come with shouting. It came quietly, the same way I had left that rooftop party. I never saw her break. But I heard about it. The HR department at her company reached out to me formally a week after I submitted the documents. They thanked me for my professionalism. Said they were conducting a wider review into promotional conduct and internal misrepresentation. I wasn't involved beyond that. I didn't need to be. The truth was already enough. And the thing about truth? It doesn't scream. It waits. Emlyn resigned quietly. No LinkedIn post. No farewell brunches. Just gone. I got an email from Aaron, the guy who first warned me that night at the party. He wrote, "Whatever you did, man, thank you." She had everyone fooled. But by then, I wasn't interested in revenge anymore. I had moved into a small apartment above a bookstore on the east side, the kind of place with creaky floorboards and no elevator. There was something peaceful about being surrounded by paperbacks and dust instead of tension and performance. My mornings changed. No more pretending to be asleep while Emlyn scrolled Instagram in bed next to me. No more waiting to be acknowledged, smiled at, validated. I made my own coffee, took long walks. I started journaling again, something I hadn't done since college. And then, a strange thing happened. I got a letter. Not from Emlyn. From her sister. It wasn't long. Just a single paragraph handwritten on plain paper. You were never crazy. She just couldn't stand being seen for what she was. Thank you for not becoming what she accused you of. I sat with that sentence for a long time. Because for years, I believed I was the problem. Too sensitive. Too quiet. Too difficult. That if I just adjusted enough, shrunk myself just right, I'd finally be enough for her. But some people don't want love. They want mirrors. And when you stop reflecting back their ideal version of themselves, they break you. Or try to. Emlyn had built a glass life. And when it shattered, I realized I'd spent too long cutting myself trying to hold it together. One morning, maybe 3 weeks after it all ended, I was sitting outside the bookstore with my notebook when someone walked past, paused, and smiled. "Read?" she asked. It was Claire, a woman I'd met briefly 2 years ago at a publishing event Emlyn had dragged me to. I'd forgotten her name until she said it. "You look different," she said, genuinely. "Lighter." I smiled back. "I feel different." We had coffee the next morning. And no, this isn't some fairy tale ending where we fell in love overnight and danced into the sunset. But for the first time in years, someone saw me without needing me to be less, without reshaping me. And that was enough. I never responded to Emlyn's last message. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Maybe not. But I finally did. And that was the best thing I ever gained from losing her.